Welcome everyone. On the occasion of Diwali or Deepavali, the festival of lights, we have an ideal opportunity to share light. And the idea is light represents knowledge. And in the combat, I'm not sure if you can hear, I have fireworks going off in the background. I'm here in Pune city at the moment. We met Swamiji earlier today, so we got fireworks going off. And the whole idea is, it is light versus darkness, knowledge versus ignorance. And when we talk about these qualities, it is an idea of inspiring the light in us, inspiring the knowledge in us to combat our ignorance. And the quality we're going to be discussing today is a subtle quality. And it needs some application because at first look, it talks about renouncing evil, so that we're familiar with, but it says renouncing good as well. Shubha, Ashubha, Parityagi. Shubha means good, auspicious. Ashubha means inauspicious, evil. And Parityagi is renouncer. So why should a seeker renounce both good and evil? To understand why this quality is there, we have to take it from the absolute stance first and then relative. So when I say absolute stance, we're talking about somebody who has reached enlightenment. So from the enlightened person's perspective, they are above good and evil, and I'll explain. But then we're also going to discuss the practical aspects for you and me who are not enlightened. What is the practical takeaway from this quality? Why should we renounce good and evil? That we call the relative explanation. So let's begin. From the standpoint of an enlightened person, self-realization, the truth, the reality, Brahman is beyond the world. This world for us is made up of perceptions, what we perceive, what we feel, and what we think. But God, reality, truth, is beyond perception, beyond emotion, beyond thought, and beyond this world. And one of the definitions we have been using for beyond the world is dvandvas. Dvandvas is a Sanskrit word, which literally means the pairs of opposites, the duality, hot, cold, joy, sorrow. And we've been discussing a few of these earlier. Here, the pair of opposites that we're going to be discussing is good and evil. The truth is beyond good and evil. Why? Good and evil belongs to the world. The absolute truth is beyond that. In fact, when we say good, when we say evil, there is no absolute good. There is no absolute evil. It's all shades of gray. It's all relative. And it's usually defined as how much of selfishness. If it is gross selfishness, so undiluted, concentrated selfishness, where it becomes stagnant and toxic, it is evil. And then as you move towards unselfishness and the emotions and the thoughts become purer, it moves towards good. Whether it is unselfish or selfish, both of these belong to the world. The absolute truth is beyond the world. And how is this represented? This is represented in the scriptures on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where the Mahabharata war took place. And I think most of you are familiar that it was a discussion, a conversation between Arjuna, the commander of one of the armies, and Lord Krishna, his charioteer. But the interesting point to note is that the whole conversation, the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, takes place when Arjuna asks Krishna to drive him between the two armies. And that is symbolic. The truth is neither on the side of the good Pandavas, nor is it on the side of the Kauravas, who are evil, unrighteous, selfish. To get the truth, to have this conversation, we've got to be detached from good and evil. Now, when you hear that, you think, oh, I need to stop being good? No, that's not the idea. Ethics and morality is the path to enlightenment. We have to use goodness. We have to use these qualities that we're studying, unselfishness, to get us up to a point. But when we get to that topmost point, we've got to cross over the world and achieve enlightenment. We've got to go beyond the world. So we've got to use good, but don't get attached to it. Don't get stuck to it. Just as you've got to use the signpost to follow. But if you don't move past the signpost, you don't progress. So use goodness up to a point. But to reach enlightenment, you've got to go beyond good and bad. Beyond the pairs of opposites, beyond the world. How do we explain this? How does this make sense? It is something like this. How many of you know about pole vaulting? All right, pole vaulting. The record was recently broken again. I think he broke his own record. And the idea of pole vault is you cannot, without the pole, clear the height. All right, so high jump, you can jump without a pole. But for pole vaulting, you need the pole to lift you to that particular height. And then, what makes a legal jump? Feel free to unmute.
You don't hit the bar.
You don't hit the bar, okay?
And you have to leave go of the pole.
You have to let go of the pole. I'm not sure if it is physically possible to cross the bar with the pole. But you need the pole to lift you, to leverage you to the height of the pole. And at that point alone, do you let go and cross over the bar. Without the pole, you cannot clear the height, nor can you complete the jump with the pole. Similarly, for enlightenment, we've got to use good to what? To remove the negative selfish desires, to rise and rise and rise and rise, but right at the topmost point, when you're at the bar, to cross over from finite to infinite, from terrestrial world to transcendental world, you've got to drop that also. And this is the idea. Use goodness. Be good, but don't get attached to goodness. Do you know, even mathematically, how they say the same thing? If you look on a graph and you've got the x-axis, okay, so mathematically, if you go right, you're going positive. +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. Okay? And if you go left from 0, you go -1, -2, -3, -4. Now, if you keep on going right, plus, 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 where do you end up? you end up in infinite. And if you go negative, -1, -2, -3, -4, keep going. Where do you end up? You end up in negative infinite. Therefore, infinite positive and infinite negative meet. It's all one infinite. Amazing. Positive and negative, they seem diametrically opposed to each other, but infinite positive and negative meet at infinite. The infinite truth, the reality, is beyond good and bad. How do we understand this? Infinite evil equals infinite good? Yes. So should we try and seek divinity, reality through evil? No, because the path of evil or the path of selfishness increases desires, makes us more agitated, takes us further away from reality. We choose the path of good because it makes us peaceful. It makes us happier. It reduces our desires. But it reduces our desires if we don't get stuck on the good and we use the good as a means to an end of reaching the truth. How many of you have seen the movie? And you can just raise your hands or put a thumbs up. How many of you have seen the movie, The Matrix? The first one. Oh, wow. Okay, great. So if those of you who watched The Matrix, it's a Keanu Reeves movie. Great. So it's based on, a lot of it's based on Vedanta. And it's based on a lot of scriptural themes, different religions. So there's a lot of motifs there. And what they show is that there is a big dream, a simulation that's created by the machines. And we won't get too much into the story, but imagine there's a dream world that's been created and nobody knows that they're dreaming. They're all in the dream. But a few people have woken up, and these are the heroes of the movie The Matrix, and they are trying to close the dream down because they realize the dream is not real. But, and this is where it's interesting, there is one person who is part of their team. He's in the waking, but the waking part of awareness and knowledge, it's not easy. And to some extent, the dream seems better. And he chooses to betray his team of wakers, and he makes a deal with the machines to go into the dream. What this means is, how many of you would choose distraction over reality? Because sometimes life is tough. A little bit of disillusionment, a little bit of escape. But what if you could choose escape for a long term? And this is what people are doing. What if we can create a dream and live in the dream? But it's not real. And the person's name is Cypher. He betrays the team. And it's supposed to be a parallel with Judas, who sells Christ, the path to reality, for a few pieces of silver. Now, same thing with you and me. Suppose you're having a good dream and somebody wakes you up and you get so angry, you say, I'm having a good dream. I want to go back into the dream. It's not real. It doesn't last. At some point, we have to wake up. And this is it. This is it. It doesn't matter how bad the dream is, a nightmare, how good the dream is. Ultimately, both are unreal. And this is the highest truth of Vedanta. Vedanta says there is but one reality, and that is that supreme, pure consciousness. And right now, what we're experiencing is very much like a dream. It seems so real until we reach enlightenment. But if you get attached to the good, it's like getting attached to a good dream and you don't want to wake up. Understand, good and bad are still part of the dream. Same thing, good and bad here is not the truth of enlightenment. And this is the idea. I'll give you one more idea, and then we move to relative. It's getting heavy. And this is it. It is, how is it with your children? You may have an extremely naughty child, maybe a few. And we were hosted by a family earlier this year, 4 children, all under 8. Each one mischievous. How does the parent view it? It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of running around. How does the parent view the child? This child is evil. Do you know what he did to his brother? This child is very good, very good. Sometimes we say that. We easily get attached to good. Evil, this child is evil. Do you say this child is evil? Wanjiru, don't agree. As mischievous as the child may be, you never call the child evil. Why? Why?
Because he's a child.
Because it is a child. Okay, so because of ignorance, innocence, child doesn't know better. What else?
You
That's
love the
very
children.
compassionate. That's very understanding. Where does the compassion and understanding come from?
From the love. You love the child.
That's it. It's from love.
Attachment.
Well, let's use love here because it's positive. And the love is what makes you not see it as categorically evil or categorically good also. The love brings about the oneness. So a seeker of truth loves everything. Why? Because they see God, they see truth in everything. They are able to no doubt see, they see the difference. They see justice, they see injustice, they see righteous, they see unrighteous, they see ethical, unethical, they see it. They see the different shades. Okay? So it's not that they're blind to it, but they do not get affected by it. They do not get upset by the evil or by the good because of the love, because of the feeling of oneness. Does that mean that there is no consequence? There is consequence, but the love and the affectation is not there. And that's the difference. Remember, with all these qualities, when we spoke about desiring, rejoicing, not rejoicing, not desiring, when we spoke not hating, it's not that you're completely free of the emotion. You may have the emotion. So same thing here. You may see good and evil, but you're not attached to either. And that makes all the difference. And you're not attached completely when you reach the stage of enlightenment. Why? You've gone beyond the pairs of opposites. You've woken up from the dream. So what does it matter if it was a nightmare or if it was a good dream? It was a dream. Instantly you wake up, you're freed from all the consequence of the dream. But relatively also, it is important to be detached from good and evil. And let's get into that now. The relative takeaways about this quality is firstly, when you don't identify with good and evil. What does that mean? It means that when there is good, we cling to it And it's fine to be happy, but when you get dependent on people being good to you, people saying nice things to you, what does it lead to? Please unmute and speak, anyone. What does it lead to if you get dependent or attached to good?
You become too content in your life.
You become too content.
You disconnect with your darkness
You disconnect with your darkness.
instead of going in and through it and transforming it.
Mhm. So there's no feedback from others. There's no criticism. There's nothing negative. So you don't experience that side of you. You're perhaps not aware of it. Yes? If you get attached to only positive, if you get attached to good, you're not prepared for negative. You're not prepared for evil. So when something negative happens to you, you're miserable, upset, depressed. How can this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? When it's good, you're celebrating, no doubt. But when we do this, when we identify with good and evil, and one only has to pick up today's newspapers or read through the news on our phone, and it's a roller coaster of emotions. Unfortunately, more ashubha, more evil, more inauspicious things than shubha, positive things. And if you identify with that, you say, oh, there is trouble in this region. And you see images of it, and it pains your heart. And they're thousands of kilometers away, but you can't sleep, you can't eat. And then maybe you see something positive. Some development happens. There's a stoppage. There's temporary peace. And then, oh, you're happy again. We set ourselves up for this roller coaster of good and evil. But that is part of the world. So if we want to be more peaceful, let us practice being a detached witness. The Sanskrit word for witness is sakshi, where you watch it, good and evil, and what is your part, what needs to be done, you contribute. You empathize, no doubt, but you're not affected by it because you don't attach yourself to good or evil. Why? Because you understand they are passing phenomena. Good and evil have their cycles. It's come and go. Don't get attached to either one. Don't go on this roller coaster of life. Now, the second aspect is, and this is the main theme for today, is that when we are attached to good or evil, when we relate with people, what is the tendency we have when we connect with people, when we relate with people? What have you noticed?
If they're not good, if they're bad, we judge them and we criticize them and we reject them.
We judge them. The first, yes, Daksha?
We keep away from evil people.
We keep away from them. We dismiss them. And this is so tragic because we miss the complexity of people. So we have a tendency, when you're attached to what we call good or what we call evil, we want to put people into boxes. And we don't see the shades in people. We don't see the differences. So we'll see one quality and we put the person evil category. And you miss out perhaps on some beautiful qualities of the person. People are layered, but we, for the sake of our attachment, for the sake of our mind, we want to put a label there: good, evil, toxic. But when you do that, you write off the whole personality. So there is no room for transformation. There's no room for repair of a relationship. There's no room for a better relationship because you have judged them. And why have we judged them? Because of our attachment to good and evil. You find out that somebody supports the left and you are right-leaning. They are left, oh, I knew there was something wrong with that person. I say, even in politics itself, and we're finding the world more and more like this, it's almost as if we've got a character trait for people who support the left. But even when you say you're supporting the left, it doesn't mean you support all the policies of your particular government. You support maybe 2 or 3. And actually, you're more right, but you don't really support the policies of the people who are currently there. So what's happening is we are dismissing, generalizing with people, and we're missing context. We're missing conversation because of this. And why is that? Because of our attachment to good and evil. Attachment for people to agree with us. There's a quote that beautifully captures the way we can mature our relationships with people. And it is this. It is by James Truslow Adams. And whenever we talk about people, or whenever we find ourselves judging people, let us remember this. There is so much good in the worst of us, and so much bad in the best of us, that it ill behooves any of us to find fault with the rest of us. So whenever we're ready to criticize, generalize, put people in a compartment, evil, good, remember this, there are grades. There's so much good in the worst of us, some beautiful qualities. A person may not treat their partner well, but you find when they're driving, they allow everyone before them. They say, you go. They follow all the rules. They've got different sides, but also the other way around. Even in a good person, there are negative qualities. In a bad person, there are good qualities. Therefore, let us refrain from judgment. We can assess to better understand the person, to relate to them. Don't judge, don't classify them. What is the problem with this? The problem when we get attached is there's no chance for reformation. So if a person commits a crime, we don't know the context, we don't go into the background of the person's life, how they committed that crime. And sometimes the punishment that we mete out, one part is legal, but the other part is how we react to somebody who's done us harm. We don't know the reason for it. Dana gave a reason earlier that for children we say ignorance, innocence. But aren't all people innocent? Innocent is a strong word. Ignorant? Because why would they do something that actually will not give them peace? Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, it puts it beautifully. It says this is why we should not get attached to evil, and gives us a perspective on looking at it. It says, no man chooses evil because it is evil. He only mistakes it for happiness, the good he seeks. He thinks by cheating, he thinks by doing something unethical is going to be happy. It is not the case. Misguided ignorance. So you empathize, you sympathize. Does that mean no consequence? It does not mean that. Full might of the law, full consequence for sure. But from your side, you need not have the agitation. You're not attached to it. And because you're not attached to it, you may be able to understand the context and the potential for the person to make reparations. Potential for the person to perhaps change and become a contributory member of society. In the play and the movie Les Miserables, it talks about a woodcutter. There was no employment. This was before the French Revolution. So much poverty there. And the man was trying to feed his family. He had a sister who had a baby, and they were starving. And now what to do? There's no work, there's no money. And he's passing the bakery at night. And out of desperation, not for himself, but to feed the baby, he breaks the bakery window, steals a loaf of bread. But he's caught. Now, when we look at the context, our heart goes out to the person. What choice did he have? But a good man punished, and the punishment. And this is where we start looking at what is the best way to punish? What is the best way to reform? And what is the best way to put the appropriate punishment for the appropriate crime? And what makes a crime depends on the intention. So many factors go into it. But if we say he stole, therefore he stole, he should get so many years, 7 years. 7 years, what does that mean? What happens to the sister? What happens to the child? And in the 7 years in prison, so harsh, and it's a commentary on French prisons at the time, they made a good person rootless, made a quality person a criminal. And the story goes, he escapes from prison. I'm not sure. I think after 14 years, something like that. He escapes from prison. And the first thing he wants to do is just steal. Steal, doesn't care who he's stealing from. He's rough, really disillusioned by society. And the only home he gets some kind of support from is the home of an archbishop. And the archbishop welcomes him, puts silver plates, feeds him, puts silver plates because that's what he does for guests, and offers him a bed to sleep. But in the middle of the night, the convict, the escaped prisoner, wakes up and steals the silver plates of his gracious host. And he runs away with it. The beauty is in the archbishop's reaction, because the next morning when he hears about this, he feels that pang of pain, and he says, replace it with copper plates. But later that day, the police come and they have found the man. They recognize the plates because they are frequent guests of the archbishop, and they throw the man down. And he says, Archbishop, we have found this criminal, and he has stolen your plates. And look at the understanding of this great man. The archbishop says, you are mistaken. He did not steal the plates. I gave it to him. And the police said, yes, that is what he said, but we didn't believe him. And they turned around, and the man also, he did not expect this. He thought the priest is going to give him away. And the police left, they apologized, and the archbishop goes up to the fireplace. Above it are 2 solid silver candlestick stands, and he presents them to the convict and says, remember, my son, life is to give, not to take. Now, look at the way, and I'm not saying we do this with everybody, and that's why the intellect has to be so sharp when we make these assessments. Punishment could be to send him back to jail, but the priest saw something in this man, and in that moment, he turned a man who had the possibility of being turned, but was not shown any kindness from the world. But that one act of kindness transformed this man, a thief, convict, a hardened criminal, into, he becomes a mayor of a town, He supports employment. He supports women. He does all these qualities. Why was he able to do this? He was able to do this because of that one act. So I'm saying if the priest was attached to good or attached to evil, he would have rejected this man. This man is a criminal. He does not belong to my house. But he saw humanity. He saw texture. He saw the grades. And by his act, he was able to inspire the positive in that person. The other side of it is, if you are attached to good, you want a person to be good. And when they are human, because they have desires and they make a mistake, we feel disappointed. And we are so harsh with these people because we made them heroes. Who asked you to make them a hero or put them on a pedestal? But this is a tendency that we have. We want to glorify people. We want to look for heroes and saviors. Why can't they just be good humans? And we find this when people come to the Vedanta Academy and they have the notion that everybody who's studying at the Vedanta Academy is a guardian angel with wings. If they stay long enough, they will realize that they are not angels. They are just human beings trying to be better. And that's it. So if we get attached to evil, there's no chance of transformation of that person. But more importantly, we are agitated when we are attached to evil. So we want to take care of that. If we are attached to good, you also get agitated. Why? Because we want people to always stay that way. We want to hold them up at a particular pedestal. We want to make them flawless. And when, because they have desires, because they are human, or they're just simply being themselves, and we find our expectation different from the reality, we feel disappointed. Not only that, there are some people who exploit this weakness of people being attached to good. And they know that people like to be attached to good, so they take advantage of it. Remember, truth is what we are seeking. And we've got to x-ray both through bad and good to get to the truth. So let us refine our understanding of people, of our relationships. Not just generalize and put people in boxes, but see the complexities. They have positive in some areas, they have negative in some areas. And the same thing with us. We might judge ourselves harshly, good and evil. We're just works in progress. There's a concept. We were in Brazil earlier this year, and one of the people that we met was involved in transformative justice. And when they were explaining the concept of transformative justice to us, we found it so similar to some of the principles of Vedanta. And the idea was, when a person commits a crime, certain types of justices, it's based on revenge, punishment. And the punishment, revenge, is a reaction to the crime committed. But that reaction could sometimes make the overall society, situation, and individual, both the person whom the crime was committed to and the person who committed the crime, both sides, makes their lives worse. So you don't feel resolved. So transformative justice is dealing with the different parties. And the whole idea was, how do we ensure that this harm was caused from ignorance? So how do we solve the root problem and not create a person who comes out of prison worse off, or the punishment leaves the family worse off, both sides? It says, how can we meet this situation to ensure no further harm? And that pause, that understanding requires Subhasubhaparityagi, a detachment from good and evil. You see it, but you're not attached to it, so you can understand. Oscar Wilde, he puts it beautifully. He says, every saint, remember this, every saint has a past, right? So the best of people, they have a past, maybe a colorful one. They weren't born a saint. And every sinner has a future. And if we can have this idea about people, about ourselves, we start seeing textures. We start seeing the grays, the grades, and not just the poles, the extremities. So, what is the practical takeaway from today? Yes, we've got to seek good to reach self-realization. But don't be attached either to good or bad. Why? Because when good or bad happens, we get agitated, we get affected, we lose our peace of mind. So what do we want to do? Detach from bad. How? By understanding that people don't mean to be evil. They're just seeking happiness in a misguided way. In that way, we become more peaceful, more sympathetic, more empathetic. That has nothing to do with the consequences that that person who has performed a selfish act needs to meet. So we become more peaceful, but also don't become attached to good, where there is a chance of us being disappointed or exploited. Understand that even in good, until a person's enlightened, there are shades of selfishness and desire, evil. If we do this, we will have a better understanding of the world, a better understanding of people. We will be more peaceful and use good to take us to self-realization. And that's our quality for the week. The question for the week is very different. So remember, if you have any questions, keep it in mind. We'll go through the question of the week in a few minutes, and then we'll take up the questions. But if you have a question, keep it ready. So as soon as we finish the question for the week, we'll have open Q&A. And the question of the week is, we'll put it up on the screen. How does one find a balance between giving and being charitable versus setting and pursuing one's own personal goals? Excellent question. And remember, these questions is what some of you who are in touch with me have been messaging, and I've been selecting from this pool of questions. And this is a very practical question because as seekers, everybody here is looking at being better, looking at giving, looking at practicing some of the qualities we've been talking about. But now, how much should you give and how much should you focus on your own goals? Because sometimes when you are trying to satisfy another person or trying to be helpful, you lose track of the things that you're supposed to do. You're not exercising. You're not doing your morning study, your morning reflection. You say, I'm trying to be a good person, but I'm not doing the things I need to do. So what is the practical advice? The practical advice is make charity part of your goals. So it is not doing something good for others is separate from your goals. And that's the problem. It's like charity is for others, this is for me. No, there is one life and all your goals must be aligned. So they're not competing with each other. So your goal there, your personal goal is to be a more charitable person, to practice giving more. That is your personal goal. So we've got to see it as it's a personal goal. It's not charity versus personal goal. Being charitable is my personal goal. But I see where the question is coming from. How do we decide what you say yes to, what you say no to? And in chapter 17 of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful section called Sattvic Danam, which means gift. A sattvic gift, a true gift. It says a true gift is one given out of obligation. Means, is it your duty? Is it the right person? Will it benefit the person? Are you doing it without expectation of getting something back in return? And it gives these few beautiful points on how to give. The part here is, it should be aligned with who you are, aligned with things that you want to support. So if a person says, look, can you give me some money to buy some drugs? I give an example that's extreme. You say, oh, yes, of course. Vedanta said I must be a charitable person. Here you go. Go get high. This is not charity. It doesn't align with your principles. That's not giving. And it's making the other person addicted, it's making the other person worse off. So then what is it? So firstly, is it aligned with your goals? The kind of things that you want to support? Is it helping the other person? But here, the important or the practical takeaway for this questioner is budget your charity. Decide how much you want to give per week, per month. Put a figure to it. Because just as you budget your time, you budget your expense for travel, you budget your expense for a holiday, you budget that, budget in your life, because it's one capacity, it is one material aspect, it is one time component. How much of that do you want to give to charity? So when you budget for it, and then a request comes through or an opportunity comes through, you run through the checklist. Oh, this is not valid. Okay, out. This is valid. Great. This fits my budget. Yes. This fits the time I've allocated to be charitable. Yes. Oh, no. This is asking for more time than I have. I'm sorry. It looks like a good cause, but I don't have that time available. So when you have a tangible amount, both financially and time-wise and application-wise, it is so much easier to say yes or no. Just as you would do for exercise. You don't exercise for 5 hours. You got other things to do. But you understand exercise is important. You put 1 hour of exercise in the day. Now you might say, I've got 2 to 3 hours a week that I can give for charity. Charity means for an unselfish cause. So a practical way. How we've done it in our personal lives, Avanya and myself, is that we've looked at things that align to our work, to our values. And depending on the income, we've got a portion that goes straight to our Guru, Swamiji, as Guru Dakshina. So we give to our Guru, so the Guru can use it for their charity purposes. Then we give it for our immediate circle that takes care of us. So our apartment society, we have so many staff, the academy staff, my fellow colleagues. If there's a way that we could make their work or the academy better, more comfortable, and then also for the participants that we meet on our travels. So especially for young kids, students, they don't have the liquidity to buy books. So we gift the books to those who are interested. We take care of their scholarships if they want to come and visit the academy. But all within an amount that we've decided and within the time that we've decided. If it goes beyond that amount, then you're not doing justice to your other goals. This is it. So how does one find the balance between giving and being charitable? Align the charity with your personal goal. And then budget your giving. Okay. So your questions. Feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Can I ask, Sudhakar?
Yes, please.
You've mentioned values, and as you were giving the session, I was a bit late. I apologize if it's something you'd already covered earlier. But as you're choosing your values, does that mean you've gone into good and evil? I'm just trying to find the existence of me valuing one thing over another and yet not judging it as good or evil. So what guides my values?
See, any value that we take, it's important for us, but we must understand that it's not the highest. Because as we raise ourselves, we start seeing higher values. So if we keep in mind that whatever value we pitch up now, we're using it to raise ourselves, but it's not the highest. So as long as we have the awareness that it's not the highest, we will not become attached to it, and then will not become judgmental to others. Example, selfishness and unselfishness are so relative. Okay? So a person who's at 40, they are more unselfish than a person at 20. Okay? But for a person who's at 60, the person at 40 is selfish. Does it make sense? So what appears selfish, or what appears unselfish, is actually selfish from a higher level. So you cannot ever think that where you are is absolute until you've crossed the highest. It's all relative. From a higher standpoint, what you're doing may not be ethical, correct, unselfish. But from a lower standpoint, what you're doing is value-based, higher, ethical. So Vanjiru, it's according to who? So for our own self, we must understand from where I am, this value that I'm pitching is higher, but it's not the highest. And that keeps us detached.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sudhakar, so neutrality is what we're seeking on this earth plane?
Neutrality in the sense of not being attached? Yes. Does that mean we are not pursuing one more than the other? No. We are pursuing good. But we're not getting attached to it.
When you mean not getting attached to it, not defining it, do we
Okay.
define events or opportunities as good and bad, or it is what it is? And we
Mm.
just make the best out of it.
It is that is a very high state. When we react to situations, we classify it as good and bad, evil and auspicious according to our desires. So if it aligns with our desires, good. If it doesn't align with our desires, bad. This is what we're doing. If we see it as is, this is a very high state of objectivity and detachment. It's you see the activity and you decide to make the experience good, positive, educational. So you see the experience without the filter of your mind, the lens, which colors the experience. You see the experience and then you decide, okay, now what do I want to do with this? So instead of being reactive, where you're seeing it through your desires, you're just seeing. And then you're deciding which is the way that I can use this experience for my evolution. It's a very high state because you have to be so detached from it. But that's what we're saying. That's the idea for today.
Thank you.
Hi, Sudhaka.
Hi.
No, thank you.
Even like charity, giving to charity could be seen as being good, If I give to charity, it's good. And then on the other hand, I'm also being like selfish because every time I give something, I feel good about it. Or like I'm doing good, You kind of like personalize and start to.
So even in charity, there are grades, just as you're saying. So,
Yeah.
so one person gives, but they are giving for advertising. They're giving for their fame. They're giving for their picture in the newspaper. They're giving for people to worship them. Okay, that is one. Then, but it's still giving. You're still parting. So it's less selfish. But then you get somebody who's giving, but he's genuinely about those people. But he also enjoys the feeling that he gets from it. So he's giving for that feeling and the peace that he gets from it. But he's also thinking about the people. A little bit of both. So more unselfish. Same giving is going on, same action. Then you get the person who, it is my duty. These people are deserving. I'm giving. It's not for the happiness. The happiness comes, yes, but I'm not doing it for the happiness. I'm doing it for the service. Higher unselfish. So yes, the same act can be more and more refined. And this is exactly what we're saying. This is how we grow. And as we get to different places, we realize, what I was doing was actually selfish. That's why I was not getting the full benefits of the action. Okay, everyone. Before we part, I just wanted to bring your attention to a few events that are happening at the Vedanta Academy. We are back in India, and we will be at the Academy for the December-Jan season. We have a few events. The first is a youth camp. So for those of you who have young children from 9 years old to 23 years old, I would recommend the Life Decoded Youth Camp. It's before Christmas from the 18th to the 22nd. And the reason why I'm telling you about the event now is because I'm not sure if you're experiencing this, but flights are full. And especially in December and Jan, it's beautiful weather in India, so these flights get filled up very quickly. So if your child's a teenager, ideal experience. An introduction to Vedanta with games, with sports, with movies, good food, very tasty food, kid-friendly. So this is one experience. And then for yourselves, we've got the Vedanta Academy experience. So for those of you who have been studying under our Guru, Swami Parthasarathi, we'll be showing some exclusive lectures from the archives. Very inspirational. It's not available anywhere else. It's called the Vedanta Academy Experience. And it is from the 12th to the 17th of January, 2026. So here, there will be a lot of group discussions, and there will be lectures in the morning, which will be recorded video lectures from the 80s, the 90s, from an enlightened person, Swami Parthasarathi. But our signature event is the event in February. It's from the 1st to the 6th. It is our international retreat. And this event happens once a year. The Vedanta Academy experience happens in January and July, but the international retreat happens only once a year. And this retreat is live lectures by Sunandaji, by senior alumni such as myself on campus. And the whole idea is that you get a structured pop-up course. Doesn't matter your level, whether you've been in the subject for 10 years or for a few months, or you just joined our Sunday Wisdom sessions, you can go deeper into the subject with an international community that come for this event and all the other activities that are there. But the structured course content, the retreat content, is a great way to start the year and plan your evolution. So consider these 3 events, see which one works for you. And if you need any details, you can reach out to us. If you need any help with logistics, feel free to ask us any questions. We're unemployed, so let us know how we can assist. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much.